They say miracles are a thing of the past, something you only read about in dusty old books. But if you ever find yourself in Willow Creek, Missouri, ask someone about Thanksgiving Day back in 1986, you might just hear a story that changes your mind. It was one of those cold, crisp mornings where the wind bites at your cheeks and carries the faint smell of wood smoke and something that feels a lot like hope. Over at the New Light Fellowship Church, the doors of the brand new fellowship hall were swinging open and shut. The congregation had a simple, heartfelt plan to cook a Thanksgiving meal for a few hundred folks in the community who were struggling. 20 families had volunteered to cook. They brought in 20 turkeys, pans of savory dressing, mountains of fluffy mashed potatoes, sweet yams, pies of every kind, and fresh salads. This wasn't about being heroes. It was about sharing what little they had. Pastor Samuel Reed, a kind man with a gentle voice and a beard just starting to gray, summed it up perfectly that morning. He said, "Let's feed every soul who walks through those doors today. A simple prayer, a simple promise." And they were determined to keep it. At 11 o'clock right on time, the first guests started to arrive. There were families huddled together in worn coats, weary travelers from the highway, single mothers with hopeful eyes, and old men whose faces were etched with the stories of a long life. The volunteers greeted everyone with warm smiles as they ladled out hot gravy. The hall was filled with good spirits and the hum of conversation. But as the line grew longer, stretching out the church door and down the sidewalk, a quiet worry started to creep in. Evelyn Hartwell, the church secretary, a woman known for her sharp mind and no-nonsense efficiency, eyed the rapidly emptying food pans. "We're going to run out," she murmured, a knot of concern tightening in her stomach. The food was disappearing faster than they could have ever imagined. But then something strange began to happen, a wonderful, unexplainable thing. Every time a volunteer would carry an empty tray back to the kitchen, another one would come out filled to the brim. No one remembered refilling it. The same thing happened with the mashed potatoes and then the yams. A woman turned to her friend, asking, "Did you make more gravy?" The other replied, baffled, "No, I thought you did." By noon, the crowd outside had tripled. Cars were parked all along both sides of Main Street. Pastor Reed looked out at the ever-growing line of people, rubbed his tired eyes, and whispered a prayer that was equal parts desperation and sheer awe. Back inside, the clatter of dishes was a constant, cheerful rhythm. Steam fogged up the windows, and the sound of laughter blended with the happy scrape of forks on plates. Tommy Briggs, a local farmer who was in charge of carving the turkeys, shook his head in disbelief. "I swear this pan was completely empty just a minute ago," he said, holding up a still full platter. Evelyn, her earlier worries melting away, just replied with a knowing smile, "Well, keep on slicing, Tommy. Whatever you're doing, don't stop." Hour after hour, they served. Families came through the line not once, but twice, sometimes even 3 times. Children with beaming faces carried plates and pies to neighbors who were too old or frail to leave their homes. By the time the afternoon sun started to dip low in the sky, the volunteers took a moment to count. They had fed well over 2,000 people, 2,000, with food that was originally meant for just 400. When the very last plate was finally served, the kitchen looked like a well-loved battlefield. Pans were stacked high, tables were cleared, and every last crumb had been wiped away. The volunteers, bone-tired but filled with a profound sense of joy, began the cleanup. Someone joked that the raccoons would be eating well for a month on the leftovers. But as they were about to turn off the lights and head home, a soft knock echoed at the door. A young mother stood on the steps, her 5 small children huddled close behind her. She heard about the free meal but had run into car trouble and gotten there too late. Evelyn's heart sank. All the food was gone. "Oh, honey, I'm so sorry," she said gently. "We just ran out." And yet, something made her turn around. There, on the very counter she had scrubbed clean just moments before, sat a loaf of bread. It was fresh, warm, and steam was still rising from its golden crust. She blinked, thinking her exhaustion was playing tricks on her. Just then, another volunteer opened a cupboard to put away a cloth and let out a gasp. Inside, sitting on a clean shelf, was a tray of sliced turkey and stuffing, still warm, as if it had just been taken from the oven. A reverent silence fell over the kitchen. No one spoke a word. They quickly fixed 6 plates, one for the mother and one for each of her children. They watched in quiet wonder as the family ate, the mother's eyes filled with grateful tears. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. After they had left, Pastor Reed stepped outside for a breath of fresh air. The evening sky was painted with streaks of pink and gold over the flat Missouri fields. And that's when he saw him, a man standing quietly under the big oak tree by the road. The man simply nodded once, a faint, kind smile on his face, and said, "You prayed to feed every soul." "So you did?" When Pastor Reed blinked, the man was gone. For weeks, the town of Willow Creek buzzed with the story. Some people tried to explain it away, swearing they saw delivery trucks making secret drop-offs behind the church. Others just dismissed it as a classic small-town exaggeration. But the ones who were actually there, the ones who served the food, and the ones who were fed, they knew what they had seen, or perhaps what they had been shown. To this day, every Thanksgiving, the people of Willow Creek still gather in that same fellowship hall. They eat, they laugh, and someone always retells the story of the feast. The older folks, the ones who were there, just smile and shake their heads, a look of lingering wonder in their eyes. But the younger generations, they don't doubt it for a second. Because in Willow Creek, they know firsthand what a little faith and a lot of love can truly feed. Thank you for watching. If this story touched your heart, please give this video a like and subscribe for more stories that warm the soul.